I'm going to open it to the group, and I'm happy to just walk around with the microphone and let you ask questions.
I had a question for Pablo, but I don't. Did he leave or? No. Oh, there. Hi. How are you?
You can sit here.
I can stand. Okay. Don't worry. Yes.
I enjoyed your talk a great deal. I just had one question about John Paul's view of democracy. I'm not an expert in Catholic social thought, but you discussed Santissimus Annus and his seeming praise for democracy there. But don't you think that by the time of Evangelium Vitae, only a few years later, that he had substantially evolved his thought on this question? So in paragraph 20 of Evangelium Vitae, he says that a putative or apparent democracy that allows any forms of abortion condemned by the natural law is actually a sham democracy. In reality, this is a quote, he says, it's a tyrant state and illegitimate, and that it, same for the rule of law, it's only the appearance of the rule of law, it's a sham, I think he calls it a sham legality. Mm-hmm. So this is a very substantive definition of democracy and the rule of law, and one notes it's a definition that would condemn almost all actually existing democracies today. Right, it's hard to think of a democracy that would not count as a tyrant state under the criteria of paragraph 20 of Evangelium Vitae. So this is a very strong claim, and I think we have to be very careful about talking about JP2's relationship to democracy for this reason. But I just throw that out there.
Wow, and that's a tough question. Let's see if I can answer it. I think that, of course, John Paul II, first, even in Centesimus Annus, said that the Church doesn't have a model to propose of as a way to organize politics. First, I think that he praised democracy because he had experience of communist Poland, but he praised that some kind of constitutional democracy can leave room for human flourishing. But in any case, any political regime has to be in accordance to natural law, and this is a Catholic tradition. That's why in Evangelium Vitae said that democracy without values is a soft totalitarianism and a tyrant state, and so it's not just one way of affirming democracy. I think that that recalls in part with what we heard this morning on the subjectivity of society. I think that's an opinion that he had in mind also what Pope Pius XII thought about democracy, and the difference between a people is which in the classical legal tradition a people is some men united by law and with natural institution and intermediate association and mass, which is a class of men without links and without a relationship between them. And democracy, a mass democracy, would be would show the way to another kind of totalitarianism as we are seeing now. So I of course I think that, and as I try to say that John Paul II, who wasn't a jurist, when he tried to dialogue with a concurrent constitutional theory, he was being in part pragmatic. So what we have here, and if this is the regime or the kind of regimes that now there are in the Western world, and and leaves enough room for the church to do its mission and protect the human rights. Well, we can try to dialogue with this kind of regime to serve the good of man and to try to serve the common good. But it's not a closed question. He's not as many people or American intellectual or Martin Horkheimer would say that is a liberal constitutionalist theoretician. I think that he was not that. I don't know if I have answered.
Thank you. You can have a seat there. Are there questions over here?
Okay, thank you very much to all of the. To all of you, I have learned a lot. So I have here some questions. First, this first question is addressed to Leonardo, also Maria, Franck, and because and also Professor Bueno, perhaps, because it has to do with the connection between the natural law and determination and culture. Okay, I think that in a way the three of you have addressed that question in John Paul II, and generally, and I would also say that you agree, as far as I understood, that in that of course he put a lot of emphasis in the value of that part of the natural law which is on determination, the same as Aquinas did. No? So and that we need that if we use now the concept of human ecology, that human ecology is in need of diversity for properly flourishing. Well, now if we move to present days, and to the way our international and regional systems of human rights are working. Would you say they are monetary bodies, either on the international field or the work of international courts of justices, praise cultural diversity in this same way that I think you think you say John Paul II praises it? And then one last question for Professor Domínguez, which is, what would the role of the father be in the family, according to John Paul II?
We have 6 minutes left. So in order for everyone to answer, if you could pull one thread and then pass it along, that would be very good.
Okay, thank you very much for the question. I will start, but this is going to be really short since we have only 6 minutes. I think that the real question here is to respect not only individuals but collectivities, not enslaving people, not mistreating them or killing them, but accepting their ways, but their healthy customs, as John Paul II said. So I think this diversity that indigenous peoples brought to our church are really meaningful for our own ways of thinking. I have to say that international courts, especially what happens with the Inter-American Court of Justice of Human Rights, is something interesting because they accepted many ways of indigenous peoples. They accepted their collective rights. In many cases, they accepted their lands, territories, self-determination. Even they accepted self-identification. In Bolivia, this is not an international court, but we have this same way of thinking, since our court has given many rights even farther than those that are related in our own norms. So, yeah, maybe indigenous peoples are a collective group, a minority that was privileged with those kind of rights. But maybe after so many wrong experiences against them, maybe they deserve some attention. This is my response.
No, very short either. Regarding the first question, I think the relationship between culture and determination is not seen, I think it's my opinion, is not seen by John Paul II like as a lack of freedom, even the contrary, freedom, because the word determination remains as the lack of freedom. I think John Paul II was speaking about the freedom, the people's freedom to look for their ways, their own ways of searching the truth and or happiness. And the last question regarding the organizations and the international courts. Well, I think the fear, I think it's correct what Leonardo has said, but my fear is the ideological or political agenda that may be behind all their measures. That's all for me.
Me? Well, as you all know, not only John Paul II, but our anthropological view of the person and family thinks the creation from a complementarity between men and women. And John Paul II thinks that complementarity is not only in the family, it's for all the creation, no? And in the family, as he says, the masculine genius is more looking outside, no? Trying to figure how are the creation, and the genius of the women is more in the encounter with others, in the relation with others. So in the family, maybe the how can I say, the special part of what the man has, or the father has to give, is maybe the conduction, the orientation, more outside now, and maybe for the mother is trying to get the family, the strength of the family, try to how can I say it, to make the relations between the family possible. I don't know if I could explain it in English. It's maybe complex. It's more easy in Spanish, sure.
Professor Scarnecchia, do you want the last word? No? Okay. Well, we only have time for the question, but not the answer. So I'll just use my prerogative and thank this wonderful panel. I think we were really fortunate to have all of their expertise and energy as we finish a really rewarding day here at this conference. So please join me in thanking the panel, and then I believe we'll be organizing for dinner in the next few minutes.